I mean, different tool. I'm trying to switch a new tool.
Okay, so how long you been working on Cognos?
It's almost 7 years.
Okay, so so you are good with the data warehousing and SQL part, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to give you a brief idea if a layman comes into picture. So whatever I tell him, I just want to cover all those stuff. You can ignore the things which you are already have good knowledge, and if you need any clarifications, we can discuss on that also.
Yeah, sure.
So
That's
you can see my screen, right? I open a
yeah.
notepad. So first of all, you need to know SQL, and so apart from SQL, we should understand what is data warehousing, enterprise data warehousing. We should know the basic data warehousing concepts like OLTP, OLAP, ROLAP, MOLAP, and HOLAP. So when it comes here, MicroStrategy is purely a rollup tool. So till 2010, MicroStrategy was existing with the 8 version. The version name is 8.2.1. So in 2010 April, MicroStrategy launched a new version with almost with a new functionality. That's a 9 version, and the present market version is 9.2.1. So this is the available version in the market all the clients were using. So what is the speciality of this particular thing is, earlier there were no cubes concept in MicroStrategy. In the 9 point extensions, all the 9 versions has got intelligent cubes available in it. And just because of adding this intelligence cubes concept, MicroStrategy has got a flavor of MOLAP functionality. So as I said earlier, MicroStrategy is a rollup tool, and it got added with an intelligent cubes, and we can say it has an essence of MOLAP functionality. And having these two things, MicroStrategy is a hybrid online analytical processing to some extent. MicroStrategy is not a purely MOLAP tool like Cognos, where everything is deals in cubes, right? In Cognos.
Yes.
So unlike that, it has a rollup and MOLAP functionality in MicroStrategy. So apart from these things, I guess you don't require these things, but I'm just typing here. You need to know dimension, facts. So what are the different dimensional modeling schemas, star and snowflake, and fact constellation if required. You need to know what is junk dimension, conform dimension, and slowly changing dimension, how you implement it in BI. Okay, so apart from this, you need to understand what is a data warehousing architecture, and you need to know the SDLC process. So this is what the things I cover for any person who is new to data warehousing, or any who want to just emerge into the IT with data warehousing or BI part. Okay. Now, so I don't think you required all this stuff, right?
We can skip these topics. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just enter into the MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
So the roles available in MicroStrategy is similar to Cognos, as something like we have administrator, architect, and developer. So I'll be covering all these 3 roles and responsibilities. What does these people do?
Okay.
The MicroStrategy is being divided into different components altogether. So basically, the architect and developer will be working on only 2 components all the time. Administrator will have a number of other components to deal with different tasks. Unlike any other BI tool, administrator will have a specific task can be done in a specific component. In the sense, you want to do a migration of a project or an object. For that particular thing, you can use only one component. Apart from that, you cannot use that component for any other stuff. You understand?
Yeah.
So coming to here, the components list is something like desktop, web. You have intelligent server, narrowcast server. You have command manager, Integrity Manager, Enterprise Manager, Object Manager. You have Office, SDK, and prior to this, you have mobile. Let's come one after that one. So desktop is something like, it's a software which is installed in your local machine as a client, or there should be some kind of server, it should be installed, where you do everything. So when you want me to divide in certain percentage values, 80% of the task by developer and architect will be done in the desktop, and the remaining 20% will be done in the web. So what is this difference? Is 80% and 20%. So you got the requirements, you got your business requirement document, and you are starting a new project. Administrator will come and install the software. Once it is installed, architect, you are an architect, you come into picture and you pull the required tables or views from database to MicroStrategy. Once you do that, you start building the project. You start designing a project in MicroStrategy. You do all the schema level building as an architect, and you give the respective part to a developer where he comes to picture, he build the required objects in MicroStrategy in desktop. So he build reports, metrics, dashboards, cubes, dynamic dashboards, everything in MicroStrategy desktop. After completion of all the development, he ran the reports, dashboards, he do a validation, he do unit testing, everything. Then he start looking at in the web, he tests them there and give it to the user. So the end user will always see these reports in the web, not in the desktop, because they will not have this software installed in their machines.
Okay.
Okay, so when it compared with the Cognos, it's Cognos is something like you do everything in the web. Am I right?
Actually, Cognos have framework manager. So
okay.
On the table building or the modeling in the framework manager, and we will packages to web. So from web we can create reports. I mean, using Report Studio or Another Studio.
I understand, but here the reports creation, dashboards creation, everything will be done in the desktop. Only looking at them in the web is what we do, and with the new versions, we can create some extent with a limited functionality. We can create reports in web also, but not like a dynamic dashboard or a dashboard building in a web is not possible. You can do with a limited functionality. You can do it here, and administrator will also have tasks to be done in the desktop and web by default. So the typical administrative components are these things, or what I have covered now. So when it comes to intelligent server, I can say it is the heart of MicroStrategy. I'll come to this when I talk about the architecture part.
Okay.
Narrowcast server is used for distribution services. So when I say distribution services, you have reports which need to be distributed to n number of users, or you need to schedule a particular report need to be sent every day in the morning to your CEO sitting in UK or some other place. So these kind of things can be done here. So there is two different things here. In MicroStrategy, you have a distribution services as a separate concept. Narrowcast services is a different concept. Narrowcast services will not be purchased by every client. Like, people like pharmaceutical or retail industry people only buy this kind of component. Why? Because in pharmacy you'll have medical representatives where they need to see a lot of reports every day. So you can publish those reports to everyone using Narrowcast servers. Same thing with the retail, like Avon, Lakme, these kind of people, they do have a sales representatives. So those people can be viewing these reports, like, when you publish them in a bulk subscription, scheduling them, these kind of things can be done in the Narrowcast server. Okay.
Okay.
So what are the things we can do here is email, mobile SMS, or pager.
Okay. So
these three devices can be used, and you always have an option to print the application and all the exporting stuff. These are the small things can be handled directly in the desktop, not required any Narrowcast server. Now, Coming to command manager, when I say command manager itself, it says you need to write some commands here. Whatever you can do in the desktop, everything can be done in the command manager. So let's say why especially if you ask me command manager. MicroStrategy can be installed in Unix and Windows environment. So you can start and stop the intelligence server using, if it is in a Windows based, if you can see my screen, this is an intelligence server.
Yeah.
Okay, I can stop and restart it. So it will start and stop the server. If it is in a Unix box, so you will not see that icon which I showed you just now. You need to enter into the command prompt and you can do it. But in either ways, where it is in Windows or in the Unix, you can use the command manager to start and stop the iServer. Okay?
Okay.
You can use this particular thing. Apart from this, if you want to create a user called Kiran, you go to desktop and administrative console, you right click and create a username and you give certain privileges to him. Okay? It's a very simple task. If I need to create 100 users at a time, I cannot right click 100 times, as you know. So that's the reason I use this command manager for bulk user execution, creation. Or else if I need to run 100 reports at a time, I can do that, bulk report execution. For this, you don't need to write hundreds of lines of code. It will be very simple, like, simple line where you can do it easily. I'll show you anyways. Okay. So these are the two things. Apart from this, you have a lot of other stuff like purging a cache for a report object or a particular element or a project or a dashboard. You can do either ways, like, all those stuff. You can purge the cache for them. You can alter, create users. Okay. You can do all this stuff.
Okay.
Now, apart from these things, there is no need of using any stuff in command manager. So command manager will be used only for these kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Integrity manager is very, very rarely used component. When I say rarely used, it is used for comparing the two projects or reports, or baseline projects, baseline reports. For a scenario, you have a dev, QA and production environment in your project. So you moved certain reports to dev to QA and it was working fine with dev version, but when you move to QA, there was a problem. And you may not be in a situation to identify where is a difference between these two things. To identify that, you can use an integrity manager where you need to log into two different environments at a time, and it will find out what is the difference where exactly. If you see the edit plus or Toad, you use it to see two different SQL files different, right?
Yeah.
So such kind of thing can be identified here. But this is very, very rarely used stuff. You don't do it like, you don't use it, in fact, frequently.
Okay.
Enterprise manager, command manager, object manager are day-to-day activities for administrator. Okay. So when it comes to enterprise manager, this is used for audit, or you can say for a logs identification purpose. What do you mean by this? Means, let's say how many reports were deleted by Pavan in last 6 months? How many reports created by Kiran in last 4 days? How many valid users are available in my project? Because each and every license will be affecting a lot for a company, right? Yeah. So they frequently do an audit on this particular thing. Administrator will help on that. So if people are moving out of projects, coming inside the projects, they need to see how many people are working on that. So administrator may create duplicate users also sometimes, which were of no use at all. So these kind of things need to be monitored, and we can pull all those information from enterprise manager. Okay. This is particular thing will be run against the metadata, not the data warehouse. Okay.
Yeah.
Object manager, as I said, you may have an environment like dev, QA, and production. So whenever you start a new project, you do it in dev, then you move it to QA, and then to production. To do this kind of moving process, you use this object manager for migrating the objects from one server to another server. Apart from this, you will not use this one for anything. Office. So Office is something like, similar to MS Office. So what are the things you can do? You can create reports in MS of Excel, PPT, Word. The typical thing what you can do here is pivoting. Basically, you always see the reports in Excel, Word, and anything directly in the desktop, not the pivoting step. So you can do this pivoting in the Office only. Okay, if you have any requirements like that, you can go ahead with this. Mobile. So earlier MicroStrategy deals with only iPhone, iPad, iPod, these Apple products, and also the BlackBerry.
Okay.
Now they have been working with Androids also. So if you have iPhone, you can just install the app, MicroStrategy app, and you need to connect to your server. You can just look all the reports in the mobile. So that's the flexibility we have. And SDK, which I am not going to cover in my normal trainings, which is used for customization of reports using Java or .NET. And this particular thing, you can use the APIs, already existing ones, if you have. Whenever your functionality does not meet with the existing software of MicroStrategy, you write some Java code and you add that particular thing to MicroStrategy. You can create a software using that anyways. Okay. This is what the components of MicroStrategy. If you are looking for an administrator, you need to understand almost all the components. If you are looking for an architect and developer, these two things you need to more focus on. I'll be covering all these components, not the SDK one, may not be the Office, and I'll be teaching you everything. But if you ask me to install a server, I'll show you. But if you ask me to send a report to your mobile, I cannot do that. Yeah. You understand, right?
Yeah.
Because I have many students who people are asking me such things. I just want to clarify that. Okay?
Yeah.
No.
I just need to know how it works.
That can be done. That's not a big deal. Architecture. So you have 2-tier, 3-tier, 4-tier, and 5-tier. So how it deals? 2-tier is something like, you hit the database with your desktop, MicroStrategy desktop, and whatever the reports you do in this particular environment cannot be viewed by any other person just because you haven't hit any server in between. Okay? You have database, intelligence server, and desktop. So this is very, very important concept here. If you can understand intelligence server, I said you right, I'll be covering this in architecture. So here whenever user run a report, what exactly happened, how the report execution flows goes actually. So from desktop, user will run a report, and that particular report will be sent to intelligence server. From that particular intelligence server, it has got n number of components inbuilt into it. Cache, SQL engine, query engine, analytical engine. Now, whenever user run a report, it goes to intelligence server. First it looks for a cache. And if it is available in that cache, like in that particular session, if he has run all this report, it will pull the data from the cache without it going to a database. If it is run first time, it goes to SQL engine. Whatever the objects you are using in a report, with that, you create a MicroStrategy by itself, it generates SQL and that's sent to query engine. All these SQLs and forms a query, and these queries will be sent to database where it executes those SQLs and queries. The result set, the output will be sent to query engine again, from there to data desktop. It will show in the report. If you are performing certain calculations in MicroStrategy, any kind of arithmetical or like relational or OLAP or any kind of calculations, those will be handled by analytical engine. From query engine to it goes to analytical engine, from there it goes to desktop. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is very important 9-step topic what people will discuss about this, and it is a very good thing to know about how the report will execute all this. Now the 4-tier architecture, it's just adding a database. Intelligence server is connected to desktop, and the same intelligence server will always connect to web. Okay, so whenever I run a report, all this execution will be done from web. Okay.
Yeah.
Apart from this, database, IS, desktop, and you have web also, it will be connected to narrowcast server. Okay. Whatever the reports you generated from the desktop, will send it to email, send through email or SMS or export to like PDF mode or a pager, whatever you have, you can do that particular thing. What I'll do is I'll just copy paste these things in a chat box for your reference.
Okay.
You can just have a look at it after some time. Okay. Okay, so coming to the last and very important topic for any architect and administrator and the developer, what are the key things they do it? So if you see here, objects, configuration objects. These are handled by administrator. Whatever the things I am just covering here, I'll be covering in the total course actually. So I'll tell you how to install the software. I'll tell you how to create a project, set up everything, metadata, ODBC connection, duplication of projects, all admin components which we have discussed just now. Apart from this, you have schema objects handled by architect. You have tables, you have attributes, you have facts, you have hierarchies, transformations, and partition mapping. And this partition mapping, not recommended in MicroStrategy. If you want to implement this, when you're dealing with a million or you can say a billion record fact table, okay, when you're dealing with telecom projects or any other banking projects, so they do have a data warehousing partition. In that circumstances, you just go ahead with this MicroStrategy partition. If not required to that. Okay, you know what is fact, attributes, everything, right? Then public objects. So once the architect design a project with these elements or these objects, developer come with the public objects.
Okay.
Consolidation, filters. So I can say there are 5 types of filters. Then custom group. You have prompts, almost 7 types. You have metrics, 4 types. You have next drills, templates. You have reports. There are different types of reports, 4 types, and you have dashboards. This dashboard is 2 types, simple and dynamic dashboard. You have intelligent cubes. This intelligent cube, this cannot be viewed. This only stores the data into it. Okay.
Okay.
And that's all I have for today. So let me just show you how MicroStrategy looks like in a real environment. Let's just copy paste here. I can just go walk through with all this stuff also, but it will be heavy for the demo class.
Yeah. Actually, 2 years back, I worked on one project.
Okay, you can see these components, right?
Yeah.
So when I go to desktop, this is a desktop.
So are we covering, okay, it's 9 version only, right?
Yes. Basically, I'll be teaching you with 9.3.1, I guess, because you will be installing a software from directly from MicroStrategy website, which you have a evaluation version with full functionality. Okay.
Okay.
So you can see here, administrator in also working with desktop. You have schema objects. These are all the things what I just told you. You have public objects. These are all the things what I told you. If you go to reports, if I go to subject area, sample report, if I run some report here. So this is the MicroStrategy report in the desktop mode, not in a web. Now, you can see the SQL, how exactly the flow which I was talking about, the report execution flow. Cache, no cache, right? You have query engine, you have SQL engine, you have analytical engine. So these are the things handled at the back end, okay? And this is how it generates a SQL by hitting these tables.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is what the MicroStrategy is all about, and these are the things. I'll be covering these topics in at the max of 22 working days. If I take 1 hour per day class, it's up to you. If you want a weekend classes, I don't mind taking weekend classes if you want to complete it sooner. And apart from these things, you need to have to install intelligence server. If you're having home premium laptop, you cannot do it, I guess, because you need to have internet information services need to be available in your machine. IIS.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay. So
You need to have IIS. It's not at all a problem, let me tell you, because I don't have IIS in my machine, if you see that.
no.
Okay? So what is the problem if you don't have IIS? You cannot see the report in web.
Okay.
You cannot execute a dashboard, but you can create a dashboard and you can see that, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so only viewing in the web it's not possible, and like, you know, some things like what do you say, like a mobile stuff. A mobile stuff can be done with your mobile, iPhone or BlackBerry or any smartphone. Okay, to configure it you need to have a server.
Okay.
Make sense? So basic architect and developer things can be done without IIS, without intelligence server. If you're dealing with any server related stuff at administrative level, you need to have that. Make sense?
Yeah.
But it's up to you which topic you want to concentrate more on, developer, architect or administrator. Now what I'll do is 100% I'll cover the architect developer stuff, and I'll give you an overview of administrator, because administration is a totally a different concept. If you want to only focus on administrator, that will be a different course and different thing altogether. Okay. And last, let me introduce myself. I did not do that. This is Pavan. And I have almost 12.5 years IT experience. I've been teaching MicroStrategy since 8 years now. Okay. And not only MicroStrategy, I've been teaching different BI tools like MicroStrategy, ClickView, Hyperion. You might be knowing about SAS analytics. So I'll be teaching that, and Teradata, Oracle, bit of Informatica. So okay, so I have a pretty good experience with MicroStrategy, ClickView, SAS, and Informatica, Oracle, Teradata. Okay. I've been working in all these projects. I am a senior architect. Okay, so this is what my part, and feel free to ask me any questions if you have.
Yeah, right now nothing.